Itu sana chun hina khol lian kan nei mi UN lami sin se kan khol lian po kan som dingi tong inlet sak tu dinga pasta thian khomwan kan run som chi ding.
Okay, it is now my pleasure to invite to the stage our distinguished guest from UNHCR representative.
Sabeng na thon wak lang usi.
Hello. First and foremost, I'd like to take, before I passed over the floor to Mrs. Louis, I'd like to take this opportunity to give our grateful, heartfelt thank to Ms. Louis for coming over despite her busy schedule. And also, we'd like to extend our thanks to Mr. Thawng. Could you kindly stand forward? Could you kindly stand on your feet? Okay, let's welcome Mr. Thawng. Thank you for accompanying Ms. Louis as well. He is really working hard. He's from our CBP team who is really working with the floor for all the Chin people as well. So we are really, really thankful. And now without further ado, I would like to invite our president, FRO president, Ms. Lian, to present our token of love to Ms. Louis. Okay, now I'll pass over the floor to Mrs.
Nandamo. My apologies. That's all I know. That's why my wonderful interpreter will make me sound more intelligent. Congratulations on this August occasion, celebration of the Chin New Year Festival. I think what is most remarkable as you enter the hall is the number and the diversity of individuals and communities here represented. Congratulations for having the strength of one voice in bringing so many together.
Hina hol pi sungkaron lut veten mang terzan mi tujang so ti sile minung hizat rauri nan ume nan melte tele nan thuam ka zautika nan zate nan bangok chiao sikhal man sela hina lung hlai zatin chan mang thai mi ti me he asung loi tuk lo ma me in mang bang terzeta si ti mi tla kha von simbet ka du si sela.
You sound so much better than me.
Thank you.
I do want to honor this day. As UNHCR, we cannot do our work without the inspiration of the people we are mandated to represent.
UNHCR lamesin gavon semdu mezo nan ma pawl nan mai rangin na tuan ding ti mi pi nan ma lava chun kan ni lamin ziang vekin tuan du man sela tuan thaina kan nei lo nan ni he kan na tuan na ding e tha jang impact tu nan si ti mi ka mai sabi ka von sim ka do.
After world wars, a legal mandate was given to UNHCR to facilitate and find protection for refugees and to help find solutions for refugees. It was the first time that these legal obligations were put down in writing, but asylum dates from much before then.
Oh, he rampi buena. Tulani kabasit pi kanti. Dudaya kabasit nulamisin UNP in. Oh, he mi people whom him nak na he kan mai tuan ding kan ti mang mo si ti in tuan thok mi si hiti harsat bom nak so hlan pi sinarak chia mi sinaunan tui UNHCR ti kan tuan he lailung pum pi huap dudia ka basit dong la mi sin nui sin rak thok mi si.
Asylum, the act of lending a hand and saving someone from persecution or war, is one of the longest, most historical, and probably most sacred commitments of humanity.
Tumi kan mai kan tum ta mi chu ratan an hai beidong mai ini mai rami thailau mi por ranga kan kut thar tarat in an ranga bom thai mi kan nei mo ti an ranga humim nak pe khi kan tuan poimo big mi le kan na tuan tum be ka se.
Evidence of asylum granted by authorities or people towards other people, evidence of this is found on every continent, in every religion, in every culture.
Himi ratan thon pe parin lailung tlun pum huapin kan zavasile ungnak thalau ruanga biang nak ruanga nam ruanga ti in harsan nak tong he kan zau tika umlau na ngai nga hiarak umlau.
Asylum and the protection of refugees is not a Western invention. It dates back centuries, even millennia, and this is what it looks like. This is the celebration of asylum today.
Himi hi saklam rampoli tua men mi khaslave kwa lan lai sin rak mi si tu tiang himi ral ra kon bom na ke kan tua re rau mi si tu ni nan da thlen nak san khal chumi thu ruanga hina Malaysia kan na thlen kho ma se.
And so I want to thank today's organizers, your community, your leaders, the broad Chin community, the Falam Refugee Organization, but I also want to recognize the friends of refugees, those who believe in asylum, the churches here represented, the leaders of Malaysian community here represented. And I also want to thank the authorities of Malaysia for seeing the value of such a gathering and for allowing this.
Dunia kalung oi zat mi chu chin kum thar tua suak thai ding in ruai tu atum bi kisin afate bi tiang se se chlong ma chilavin he lai ral tan pol du do tin ti hina Malaysia ramisin NGO wisin se kau hanisin se in ra toy om tu pol se chlong ma chilavin lung lai de kan man thai ding ti in Malaysia humim nak in pe ke tu ni tiang mit sing in ni thaina impact to Malaysia chauza pi parata lungoi na kampi kanai ti ta kha ka von sim tu se.
It's important to talk about where you're from. It's important to talk about what you've undergone. It's important not to forget what drives refugees from fleeing their country. But it is crucial to celebrate when asylum is successful, when countries are lending a hand to people in need, when borders remain open, and when a society comes together to protect refugees.
Dunia kasim du salmi chu ziang ramisin so nan ra ziang mi har sat nak so nan rak tong ti mi he thai to pin mi pol thai ding sim ding hi athu pi ngai chulong man silavin in hum him tu ram pol si se silaule boy bai lam huai na ro ram thum na kan thleng thai khala si le boy pa na lungoi thu sim lungoi pi tlang zuam sin sin ning kan si ti mi khal dunia karon bet du bet si se la.
But the Chin New Year Festival is something even more important. In all your color, in all your song, in all your dances, in all your colorful dress, in all of your poetic expression, you're reminding us of a fundamental truth that too many people in Malaysia forget, your contribution to Malaysia.
Dunia kawan simdu salme chu dunia itin kan rakhomi bangok lautin hi chin kum tharunga tia in fun khomi athupi ngai chulong man silavin in thei fiang terme chu himi to ge rakhomi polin Malaysia ranga ziang tukin so nan rak pek ok timita kha alang ter ngai si.
During the time that you are in Malaysia, during this moment where you're unable to safely return home, you are not wasting time or resources. You contribute to the economy and social fabric of Malaysia. And we must repeat this.
Kasimdu son me chu tulolo sia chun kan khua kan rama kan tlung thai lo ruanga hina hin kan nun chul hlau lak menin ka mangmen tilavin Malaysia rampi ranga achaur za ranga khal thil tampi ka tua thai ve si ti zuam sin tang sin e a fading kan si ti mitla kha von bet ka do.
You receive very little in Malaysia, but one critical thing, protection. That has to be sacrosanct. But you brought with you few material things, but you're giving so much more. Your talent, your time, your work, your dedication, your civility, all this in contribution to Malaysia.
Malaysia nan sunga hin achau za pi in athupi zati lau pek ding tampi nan chau nga lave malte long nan chau nan thiam nan fim nan chan pol nan pek mi he atum ngai asi ti mi ta kha dunia von sim kado.
And imagine if you had a legal status here in Malaysia as refugees, if you had access to public school, if you had full access to public health, if you could work legally, imagine what that would look like.
Tu nan tin muna man hitluk raw in Malaysia ram ranga thil tua than mi nan nei tua hin tlonga ta tlong rakai thain a chau zai an peng mi pol ta tha te in nan ni ta chau vo ranga ve taula ziang tlukin so Malaysia ranga thatnem nang nan tua ding he ruwa ban silau.
In the next few days, Malaysia will play host to one of the most important gatherings of this region, drawing in heads of state from far away in support of the strength and the potential of Southeast Asia. The ASEAN Summit will bring together very important people. But I want to reiterate a few messages that are critical for us to continue discussing during the presence of these leaders.
Nirai lau te ahin ASEAN Summit timi vai som le vai sri na ke Malaysia e a nei thang ding ase chumi nei na ka chun ram tin ni sin ram hruai tu pol rakhom ding an se e chumi an rel ding me chu asi tong Asia rama jiang tin so a humim na kan pe go ding jiang tin so kan fe vi bo ding ti ta kha rel khom ding kan se chumi a khal nan ma ve ral tlang pol ranga ta thupi zatin sim ding en tum ta na kan nei ase.
About 70 years ago, the world came together to be able to support the asylum response in Southeast Asia, what we called the boat people from Vietnam and Cambodia. 70 years ago, the world came together and helped support Malaysia in hosting refugees, but also resettled hundreds of thousands of refugees who today have made up new lives, new families in new countries.
Himi refugee ti andin nak he Malaysia kan ran nak la he kum som sri arak luan chua chau zau la laya sin Cambodia lamin si se ramdang dang sin an rai chumi chu hina hin ra ra bending ale mai humim na holding ra an si himi kum som sri sunga kan zuam na ruang ale kan tan tan na ruanga minung tam ปีขัลรำทุมนักหุ่มหิมนักสวินอาเฟซาตาตั้มปีอันดักอุมาเช
The reason that worked, the reason a comprehensive plan of action to deal with the plight of refugees back then worked is because there was a fundamental belief in international solidarity towards the institution of asylum. That's the reason that worked. Today, the institution of asylum is being questioned, is even being dismantled.
อาลาในกันดักดินาจุนฮิติเวกีกันมีหลายปีฮาร์สันนักบวยนักอินเล่เล่าหนุนนักยังเลี้ยมมีโปลเฮกันตัวปีเวดิ้งเล่กันไทยโตกีกันบ่มดิ้งอาชีตีมีตุ้มตานักทนกันรักตัวถงมีสินานตูละมากันเจ้าฟีบาวติกาจุมีกันตัวมีกันตุ้มตามีโปลจูทุสุนักรักจังวีบาวเวกันตัวไทยเราวีวอรุณหลัง
In the coming days, during the ASEAN summit, it is critical that countries remind each other that when they come together to solve a problem, that really is the expression of mutual support. Global problems require global solutions, and every country must play its part, from a hosting country providing asylum, like Malaysia, through to coordination and collaboration with other countries in a sub-region when one of them is going through conflict, like Myanmar. The necessity of coming together is the only way we will find solutions to this problem.
ASEAN meeting akal simdeng mecho hi rambuai na ruanga pakhat rama buai tika abuai lau mi polin ziang tin so kan bom ding ram saklam rampol khalin himi harsa polis yang ti so kan rang lama kan bom ding ti pomok ton ding rel khom ding an siruanga himi he athupi ngai mi meeting a sitting dia azumna kan ye kan mai kan tuan ding le kan ti mang mo khala si ti mi la kha kon simbet ka do.
Asylum and the protection of refugees does require that countries regularly recognize the presence and the access to territory of refugees in order to properly protect them.
Raltan pol bum nak dinga chun atul zet mi chu ram in rak dong som tu pol in khal refugee pol is yang vek din hun so an si ziang tlukin so an harsa ti mi ta fiang ten an thaya poimo zet.
But asylum and protecting refugees is not the only responsibility of politicians. We all have a role to play. And I'd like to express a few examples in this record.
Himi ral plan pol bom nak thon pe parin himi pol he hi ung nak lami tuan vau nei tu polong na tuan silavin tunia ka sim du me cho tuan vau hi zau polis so kan nei timi ta kha tunia sim ka do se.
You've already noted my expression of gratitude towards the community groups and organizations who come together to celebrate. That's all an expression of all the years' work that they do behind the scenes to support and help provide the way for refugees who need support during their first years of asylum, for example.
Mitui karak sim zau bang tokin tunia raltan pol bom nak ti a kan ma hruai tu pol long silavin he Malaysia umi NGO le kau randang dang pol ta mitui kan dak sim zau bang tokin an ma pole bom nak ta telikan za ten tuan vau kan na si ti mi lang terna ka kalung oi thu ta kha karak sim zau mi kha se.
But UNHCR also works with municipalities, with City Hall, to make sure that the environment, the immediate environment in which refugees and host communities, local communities live, can be more peaceful, more socially cohesive, that they can solve issues together.
UNHCR chun himi long man silavin veng tini shuai tu pol kal sise chulong man silavin tuan vau nai tu pol thon kal sise tuan tangin harsat buaina harsanak umtika ziang tin so himi harsanak pol kan ching felding ti in UNHCR in he khotin le mun tini tuan vau nai tu pol thon tla kha kan tuan tla ka se.
And we will continue to do this work, but going forward, I need to draw attention to the very needed active support of two other actors, because we are facing one of the most critical funding and capacity challenges that the humanitarian sector has ever undergone.
Chun tu mai lam kan fe na dinga bom na pani te intla von dil ka doe jiang rong ati sile kan thai bang tu kin UNHCR bom na chu he saklam ramisin tampi in rak phiat ruanga tua hin bom na kan tul zate mun ni te in bom na dil karon simdeng.
While the government of Malaysia continues to build what will be a national asylum system, and UNHCR will continue to accompany that process, we will also be looking to new actors in the private sector to help support access to proper public and essential services.
Tua hin UNHCR bom nak thon a chauza Malaysia chauza pi in ral plan pol lang nak dinga hin tua hin tim tua re rawase chumi chu a chauza le UNHCR pi na tuan tang nak in tua hin tua re rawasi fam kim cho sri lau chulong man silavin private te bom thai tu nen te ten ta tua hin bom nak dil re rawase.
The partnership between government officials, community groups, refugees and Malaysian, the private sector and UNHCR means that the burden of hosting populations is shared. And I'll give you a few examples of why that is working and will have the potential of working even better in the future.
To me, antua me chu UNHCR si se private sector si se kanma a chauza thoni tuan tang na pol hen tampi refugee minung ator aseng theng mi tuan vau kha kan pe ko kan zemo ka sitika thil tha tampi aswak ding tia zum na kana ye chumi sin ara swa thai mi pol tua hin karon sim ninga se.
We are reaching out to the private sector to find solutions to some very basic problems. For example, one of them is access to affordable healthcare, something so critical to all the families, Malaysian and refugees.
Tua hin private company pol kan deal me chu ni din kan nu ni kan tool zet mi dam lau na ke sizun khentika raltan polin ol samte in mal olte in kan zau khenok theina ding hi se.
We've worked very hard, UNHCR and refugee communities, to make a convincing argument to the private sector that with their contribution, a form of insurance could actually pay off. Today, you have the opportunity to sign up to a health insurance scheme called Remedy, and it is done specifically for refugees. Hello?
Hello.
Health insurance in partnership between the private sector, refugee communities, UNHCR, and with the endorsement of the authorities of Malaysia does work, and it's an example where we're sharing the responsibility to provide access to critically needed services for everyone.
Tui kan tuare raumi UNHCR in private sector pol bom nak andil mi sungi sin kan tua suang mi chu Remedy insurance ti mi tui kan announcer pon tan simre raumi kha si chumi chun raltan pol ha ol sam takin dam lau chana yang man thinarna lavin bom thaina ka si chumi chun kan ni khalen NGO pol thon bomok tarat in himi kan tua nak ronga anma ranga tla ชัดเนมหน้ากันเข็นเปียซีที่มีขากันหูดิงขากันตุ่มเละกันสวมเรามีเช่
We need to find other solutions to so many other problems, like access to a SIM card, like access to school or scholarships. And these can also be pursued if we find partnerships to come together. No one actor can solve any of these issues. We need to find ways and convene different groups of people, different actors who are willing to lend a hand and not necessarily solve the entire problem themselves, but to contribute.
ตัวนี้กันหัวเร่เราหลายมีจูกันมากัดเตอินซิมกัดกันเลยเทเราตีเวกโพลเต้าจัดตรงกันไกลเทเราตีเวกโพลค่ะตัวเห็นกันหัวเร่เราตัวเตียงจนอินบ่มไทยตัวนุ่มสีเหล่านั้นอินบ่มไทยตัวดิงตัวเห็นเฮตีอินจะมีโพลทอนเปเปอร์ฟิล์มจิรนักเลยกันซิมกัดกันตูสัมมีเตโพลตัวหน้าดิงตีอินกันสวมเร่เราหลายสิที่มีตาฝนซิมกัด
And so going forward, the Chin communities, women, youth, men, we're going to have to come together and find more partners to join in. There's a lot of potential. I look at this room as one example among many, and we're going to talk about and illustrate what works well for Malaysia and for refugees.
ตุติเวกเท่าวินตัวนี้รามีฮีมีกันตำมีกันซาเต็นกันสวมทางดิ่งยังมีโซ่กันตัวดิ่งที่สีเล่อีกันมาอินบ่มไทยตัวดิ่งโพล private sector โพลแต่กันไทยโตปินโอ้จะมีนั้นตัวอินตัวสักสีเล่จะมีจูกันทางอาไทยนั้นมาทางอาตาทิลชาตั้มเปียสวกดิ่งตีอินอัทลัมโซอันทางอาตาทันเนมนากันทางอาตาทางก้าจะกันมันไทยมีค่ากันโหต่างกันซาเตอินจวนต่างดิ่งกล่าวสมเบ็ดดูเช่
The abrupt cuts in funding to the UNHCR budget has meant that critical services that we were supporting have stopped.
Hi UNHCR bom nak cho khosak lamisin anwon phiat thetika tua hin thupi zatiki ti kan rak bom ring ning theu mi ta kha bom thailavin tua hin kan chol sunga se.
The abrupt and extensive cuts in funding have meant that almost 65% of the UNHCR staff in Malaysia are let go.
Sumle paya harsanna kan tonge tui budget pol in phiat sak the ruanga UNHCR in hatwan tu zateka somruk panga ya khai nong rau ri kha nai sin kan chol tera tu la se.
We will stand by you, refugees. We will stand by you, communities and friends of refugees. And we will stand by a government that is working towards building a national asylum system to better protect refugees. But we need your help more than ever.
Dunia nan bom na kan tul ngai ase nan kianga kan ding nan ma bom dinga kan ready ring chulong man selavin refugee pol ranga raltan pol ranga thatnem nak te azuam re rau tu refugee lak dan ding zuam re rau tu a chauzat la thai to pin bom kan zuam ding ase.
On this Chin New Year festival, a celebration that reminds us of where we've come from, reminds us of the potential and resilience of our communities when they come together, but also calls attention to a hopeful next year. I thank you very much for your friendship, and very importantly, I thank you very much for coming together in support of what we most need, some peace in the next year.
Dunia kasim du min chu chin kum thar kan man mi hin khoina so kan sem suana khoina ramisin kan ra ti mi pole o harsana boina kan tong kaunan ziang tukin so kan tuar thai himi chan kan thleng ti mi he in mang te renge pakhat le pakhat bomoton ding le hin ai hruai tu pol mua ziang tin kim torel tu pol ta mailam chana lung rual sinin thin lung khat lung put khat tum da pakhat zau taratin fe tang ha musitin ka chan ka van net ter ding se lungoi na tam pi kan nei.
Thank you. Thanks very much.